Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, along with my co-host,
Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, we missed Rhonda last week. So, but she had some things going on, including her nephew's graduation.
Yes.
So sometimes things happen, but the thing about this show, we have two hosts. And so that means it's rare that we don't have a show. So anyway, this I can't believe it's May already.
It's flying by. I don't know what's going on.
It's going by so fast. And we were supposed to have thunderstorms today. They were abated. I don't know if it's gonna happen tonight. So
we had them last night. It was crazy. I mean, it was so bad that during my show, I went, "Oh my goodness!" Like on camera.
Oh,
it had gotten so bad.
So hopefully, it will stay away till like after midnight when I'm asleep. So
there you go.
So anyway, we have one book we're giving away tonight. We have 4 amazing guests, and we're going to bring on the first guest. And I need to find out if this is her first book, which I think it is, but I'm not exactly sure. Her name is Katie Mitchell. But Katie, I'm gonna wait till she comes on camera because I want to make sure that she knows that I'm saying these things about her in her book. But Katie has written an amazing book, and I have my copy of it. It's called Prose to the People, and it's a celebration of Black bookstores. And it's an amazing book. Welcome to Black Authors Matter TV, Katie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being
Katie
here.
contacted me. Was it like a year and a half ago when you contacted me?
You know, it's a blur.
And you told me you were writing this book. And I referred you to a couple of bookstores. I think it was a year and a half ago or something like that. It might be 2 years ago.
Time just keep going.
Yeah, it does. We were just saying it. We can't believe it's May already.
Time flies. It goes too quickly.
But this is an amazing book. I will say I was very pleasantly surprised. Not that I didn't think it would be a good book, but I didn't realize it was going to have well, first, I wasn't expecting hardcover. That was one thing. And I wasn't expecting all these amazing photos. I mean, it's about actually existing stores, some amazing photography. It's really a coffee table book, but it's not a coffee table book price, which is great.
Thank you.
That's huge.
Yeah. Is this your first book?
This is my first book. It's my debut.
Wow. Okay. Well, but you are a journalist. I was reading your bio. You have been in the writing. You have been writing for a long time. You've been in the field a long time as far as the writing.
Yeah, I've been doing different types of writing. My first book, but I wrote for women's magazines. I wrote for tech companies, wrote while I was in college. So it all was leading up to this.
Well, what inspired you to do this project? Because, I mean, it's a great project. We talk a lot about Black-owned bookstores, and how they have shrunk in number. But is that what inspired you to do this?
Well, I mean, as a bookseller and someone who is a customer of Black bookstores, I saw how transformative Black bookstores have been in my life. And I see them as transformative as the Black church or Black colleges, but I found that they were understudied. And I thought it was really ironic that the story of the Black bookstore hadn't been told in book form. because they hold our stories, but no one had told theirs until prose. So that was the impetus for me starting to go on this journey with Prose to the People.
Now, probably I want to say half of the bookstores in this book, the owners have been on this show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, it's the existing ones, because I think you have a couple listed that are no longer in business. Is that
right? Yeah.
right?
So I went all the way back to the 1830s with the first Black bookstore, which is D. Ruggles Books in New York City, and then I moved throughout the century and the decades up into present day.
Okay, so that was did have the right assumption in that regard, but you break it down by region, and so you have them listed in the beginning by region, and it's an amazing book. In fact, my best book customer, who I mention on this show often because she's been, we had a brick and mortar store for 10 years, and we still, I still have some book customers that will order through us, order their books. She's 82 years old. She lives in New York. She orders books often. And I told her about your book and she ordered it. So,
Oh, thank you.
because I knew she would want it because she is really a book connoisseur and has been like her whole life. And she buys books for everybody in her life. She never got married. She doesn't have any kids, but she will order books for her nieces, nephews, his grandnephews, extended people, and her old friends that she's known for years. She orders them books as gifts, and she's been doing it for a very long time. So, what my question about the book itself? Did the publishing company decide they wanted to make it like this substantial a project, or did you have to persuade them that it needed to be?
So when I pitched the book, I definitely underestimated how much would be in the project. And I think that was a good thing because if I knew all the work that was going into it, I don't know if I would have been that, gung ho about doing that. So I knew that I wanted it to feel like a Black bookstore. So when you talk about you love the pictures and all the ephemera that's in it, that was something that I knew that I wanted because when you go into a Black bookstore, you see a lot of different pictures, you see art, you see the book covers, there's different genres, there's poetry, there's essays, there's interviews. You're not just hearing from one person. So that's why I made sure that it was an anthology as well. And that's why I wanted to have the pictures in there. But I learned so much while I was doing the research for the book. And I was like, wow, I found out about this other bookstore that I didn't know exists. Like they have to be in it. So it kept growing and growing and growing until what we see today.
Oh,
So
okay.
did you physically visit each of these bookstores, or did people kind of submit to you?
So I visited most of the bookstores that are presently open that have full profiles, but some of them did submit pictures. I wasn't able to get out to like Portland and Houston, places like that. But I went to a lot of cities with the photographer and, met with folks and interviewed them some more and took pictures. So it was a good time.
Well, I haven't read the book yet, but I absolutely want this book. But I've got to ask, we have some historic Black bookstores. Some one or two are still open. Many are closed in New Orleans. Is New Orleans represented in the book?
It is, yes. Community Book Center.
Yes.
Vera and Jennifer, Mama Vera and Mama Jennifer, yes.
Yes, they are staples in New Orleans. I was really hoping that they would be included in this book.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they when I was looking through here, just to name some of the ones that have been on the show, I know we had Harriet's book, Harriet's Bookshop. She was on, and the one in Brooklyn, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's Adanne bookstore.
Donna.
Adani. They were on the 43rd,
44th and 3rd.
44th and 3rd booksellers.
Yeah, in
Amen.
Atlanta.
So we've had a good number, not Hakeem, Hakeem's
Oh, nice.
bookstore in
Mm-hmm.
Philly and Marcus Books
Yes, well, I
Great.
was just about to say Marcus Books.
in California. He's in here. But the pictures are just like this is a picture of someone. I mean, it's very, very well done. I'm very proud of you for coming up with the idea, pitching it, and then just the way it was put together. It's just
Yes.
amazing. It,
Thank
like
you.
I say, it exceeded. I was blown away when I got it because I ordered it, and I was really blown away.
Thank you.
So have you done any touring with it? Have you gone to the bookstores that are in the book and done any signings?
Yeah, so I was in DC at Sankofa, which is right across the street from Howard, and I had a really great talk with Paul Coates, who was the owner of the Black Book in Baltimore, and he's also the founder of Black Classic Press, a former Black Panther and Ta-Nehisi Coates' father. So we had a great conversation with everyone in the store, including the co-owners. So that was really nice. And then I was just in Philly, speaking of Hakeem's, and I was in conversation with Miss Yvonne and Justin Moore, who is the manager at Uncle Bobby's, and then also the granddaughter of the Marcus Books founders was there too because she lives in Philadelphia now. So been having great conversations with the bookstores, been having fun stopping in there, signing books and all that good stuff.
Now, did you go through an agent when you pitched the book?
I did, yes.
Oh, okay, okay. So I'm just really thrilled. Now, why did you call it Prose to the People? Like what where did the title emanate from in terms of the inspiration? Or was it your title? Was it the publisher's title? Was it a combination?
Yeah, so I was reading one of Langston Hughes's autobiographies, and he has a section in it called Poetry to the People. And in that section, he talks about traveling around to HBCUs in the South and sharing poetry with people that may not have had access to poetry before. So he'd be going to factories, he'd be at the railroad, the train station, just sharing poetry. And I thought about what I wanted Prose to the People to be. I wanted it to be very accessible. I wanted people to open it up and find it to be very beautiful and then get lost in the stories of our Black bookstores. And so that's where I borrowed the poetry to the people and made it prose to the people. So as a little ode to Langston Hughes.
Okay.
Oh, that's really wonderful.
The book has only been out for about a month. How has the reaction been to the book? Because I'm quite sure that it's been very, very much welcomed with open arms.
Yeah, people are really excited. I was in Philly, which I'm from Atlanta, and I've been to Philly a handful of times, but I'm definitely no local, but they were just so excited for the book. They were so excited to see the Philly bookstores in there. That event sold out, which was really cool to see. And yeah, everywhere I go, people are really excited. I think they appreciate the work that went into it and the fact that I'm telling these stories and putting it in book form. Like I said, it hasn't been in book form before. So people are really excited. It was just in the New York Times book review and got a rave review. So that was really nice to see
Oh,
just the
that sounds
work
great.
paying off. And then people trusting me with their stories and it, being received well is really exciting.
That's great because that's not common, the New York
Mhm.
Times book review. And but it should have gotten rave reviews.
Thank you.
What is a common thing when you interview the different people who have their bookstores? What's so a common thread that you heard from them in terms of their motivation, inspiration, and challenges?
Yeah. So in the introduction, I define what I mean by a Black bookstore. And I borrowed the definition from Rosemary M. Stevenson, who says a Black bookstore it doesn't just mean the bookstore is Black owned. It means that the bookstore specializes in Black publications. And what I found is bookstores and bookstore owners who choose to specialize in Black publications really have this commitment to literacy and to liberation for Black folks. And that's a theme that I see throughout, starting with David Ruggles in the 1830s, who was an abolitionist who helped free Frederick Douglass. and set the tone for Black bookstores being sites for liberation in the United States, all the way to present day, to people like Sankofa, who are making sure that the community is really reading together and being educated together and just passing on that baton of literacy, throughout the decades. So that's one thing that I saw in all regions, in all the stores. And it's really nice to see people's different takes on it and how they're using their interest and unique personalities to move that mission forward.
Lovely.
Mm.
So, what's next for you? I love asking what's next because I always wonder if it's going to be kind of a part 2 to it, or if you're going to go in a different direction and maybe feature something else.
Yeah, I've been getting that question and I don't know yet. It's like early days, not
You just want to ride the wave right now.
yeah, it's like but yeah, I'm glad that people are interested in what is coming next, but I just don't know yet.
There's nothing wrong with just enjoying the wave for right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for a first book, this is a great, even if you don't write any more books.
Yeah.
This book is a great legacy to leave.
I think it's something that's very much needed because people need to know where their Black bookstores are. They need to know that there are still stores out there that are advocating for them, that are spaces for them and by them. And I don't know, when I moved to a city, I always try to seek out the Black bookstores. I don't know if everybody is that way, but that's just something that I like to do. I mean, just to go in there, and you're right, when you walk into a Black bookstore, it's a welcoming space. You feel something when you walk into these stores, especially if they're well taken care of. The owners are usually the ones who are behind the register.
Right.
They can tell you about every book in that store. And that's not always a feeling that you get in other bookstores.
Right. Yeah. It's a really special institution.
It is. There are different lists online with Black bookstores listed. Oprah did a map where she had them on there. But I think this book will actually encourage people, especially when they travel. It will actually encourage people to visit bookstores that are in here because they can read about them and see the colorful pictures are very inviting. Just they draw you in, and then you have just some other pictures like this is the South, but you have like looks like people doing crafts or working on something at a particular store reading. And so it's just really, really a beautiful book. I'm very excited. If I would still have my bookstore, which that would be a whole nother phase of my life if I still did. But, I would have been very proud to be in something like that, including something like that. And you're right, there have been articles about it because, when we had our bookstore, we were featured in some articles, newspapers and things like that. But having a book that you're featured in, just the way that it's done, it was just really, and you can give a shout out for me to the publisher and congratulate them on being willing to invest in this project, because this is an amazing project. I would encourage, this is something that, especially people who watch this show, this is a book you need because, our show has book readers in the industry. So it's a book that every person should have. And it's great for traveling.
Thank you. Yeah, that's how I envisioned it when I initially pitched it. I said it would be a roadmap companion to Black bookstores. And people have told me it reminds them of the Green Book and they look at it before they go somewhere. So it's doing what I hoped it would do.
Well, now, Gwen mentioned articles, but your bookstore, which is an online and a pop-up bookstore, If you can talk a little bit about that concept, and then how your bookstore has also been featured in the New York Times, NPR, PBS. So you developed quite a following for your model. So can you talk a little bit about your model for your bookstore, and then how it was able to catch on the way that it did?
Yeah, so I have an online and pop-up bookstore called Good Books with my mom, Catherine, and we started it in 2019. And like you said, there's been a few articles that are, talking about good books, and I was really excited to bring people back into reading. I found that some people kind of look at it as a chore in adulthood. Everyone's so busy trying to make money, just trying to make ends meet. And we kind of lose that love for reading after elementary school for some people. So a lot of my initial customers were people who used to love to read, but didn't have that love anymore. So it's been really fun to see them get back into reading and discover new people. Nikki Giovanni, who wrote the foreword, one of my customers told me that I introduced her to Nikki Giovanni. And that was so special to me because Nikki Giovanni is someone who I just love as a writer and as a person, and who I've known about, it seems, my whole life. But for someone, in their 30s, they may have never heard of her yet. And for me to be the person who introduces her to a new reader, that's really, really amazing for me. But I think it caught on just because of the curation that my mom and I were doing. Then, of course, during the summer of 2020, a lot of people were looking to read books and support Black businesses. So that was another way that people came to find out about good books.
I think it's very interesting the way you just glazed over Nikki Giovanni writing your foreword.
Yeah, I was going to say
like that's just something that happens every day.
I was going to say, how did you get that hookup? How did that come about?
I just asked her. I didn't have a special hookup. Like I said, felt like I've known her my whole life, but she didn't know who I was. I'd met her a couple times just as a fan. But I told her what she meant to me, what her writing has meant to me through different parts of my life. And then also while I was researching the book, every bookstore that was around, I'd say from the 1960s to the early 2000s, had a Nikki Giovanni story, and they were all positive. And they were telling me stories, not so positive stories about other folks. So I said, okay, everyone remembers Nikki Giovanni positively at their store. So I think it's only right for her to have the first word in the first book about Black bookstores.
Yes.
So she said yes. She was very gracious. She thanked me for offering that to her. And yeah, I'm so grateful that she's part of the project.
Yes, especially since we lost her earlier this year.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, is there any particular thing about the book that you would want people to focus on? Like, we know the foreword's by Nikki Giovanni. I know you had a bunch of acknowledgments in the back of the book, and then in the inside there's newspaper articles. It's on the inside cover.
Yeah, that's from the Atlanta Daily World's archive, headlines about Black bookstores and Black books.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. And
Yeah,
is it
I saw
both?
that headline right in the middle of the page that said Negro Books.
Yeah, that's one of the old headlines from their articles.
So I was looking to see if it was the same in the front and the back. It looks like it is.
Yeah.
But okay, so that's from Atlanta, the Atlanta paper.
Yeah, the Atlanta Daily World, which is a Black newspaper in Atlanta.
Does that still exist?
Yeah, it does.
It does. Okay. Well,
I didn't want to overlook this comment by Aaron Coleman. He said this project is a passport and a time machine to Black bookstores past and present. What a treasure. And then he goes, we love Negro books.
We sure do.
Yeah, that's what they used to be called. And Hakeem's bookstore, the owner Yvonne, who took over from her dad, said that the FBI was watching his bookstore because it was considered to be seditious or like an enemy of the government or something. And so that's people that did bookstores back during that time, and I forgot what year it was, but there was just a marker recently in Philadelphia dedicated to Perkins Bookstore as a historical landmark for Philadelphia. And so I think was it started in the 50s? Do you know off the top of your head? The 50s or
So
the 60s?
yeah, he started selling books in 1959 out of
Okay.
the trunk of his car. And then in the 60s, he got a brick and mortar space. But you speaking about the FBI, I think one of the things that I would love people to take away from Pros to the People is that there's so many lessons that we can glean from our ancestors and our elders who are in the book, because we know that book bans are um, increasing now with the
I'm
current
about to say they're real
administration.
again. We used to think that was a thing of the past, but it's coming back.
Yeah, and then Black books in particular are the ones being banned disproportionately. And I think sometimes it's easy to say like, oh my gosh, like what are we going to do? But with Pros to the People, we see what our elders and ancestors did in the face of this type of oppression, like Duad Hakim's, who was, surveilled by the FBI. So the lessons are there. It just means we have to read them and take them and then run with it.
Right. And as I remind people on the show, the books are not banned from the earth. We can buy any books. A lot of them are banned from schools, but they're not banned from us buying them anywhere we want to buy them. So a lot of times the books that
And we're
are
doing,
banned end up being bestsellers
I
because
was
of that.
about to say, we're actually doing the author a favor when we ban the book.
I mean, it
Get a
has
nice
the opposite effect, and that's a good thing in terms of it really is a signal. This is something that we probably need to be supporting.
Exactly.
So I have one more question, and that is now, is research your forte, your background? Is that like one of your strong suits?
Um, I would say yes and no. I don't think it was my background in the sense that I was doing research for this project. I went to a research institution for undergrad and grad school, but it was more scientific research. But this caused me to do oral histories and being in the archives. But I think just organizing stuff and trying to get down to the story was one of the things that I was strongest at while writing Pros to the People.
Now, during the editing process, like when you presented what you wanted to the publisher, did they edit out? Did they tell you you needed to add what? How was that process? What was that like?
Yeah,
Give and take with the publisher.
right. They didn't give me that many edits as far as content. They let me have my own vision. It was more, line edits with grammar. Sometimes, how we talk. They're like, what are they saying? I was like, oh, I wrote it down right. They meant to say it that way. So it's things like that that we had to navigate.
Okay. Well, Katie, this is amazing. And so I want to encourage people to go out and get this copy of Pros to the People. It's a celebration of Black bookstores, and it's an amazing book. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for
Okay.
being here. We really enjoyed the conversation, and best wishes to you.
Same. Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, before we bring on our next guest, I did want to mention that the Black Authors Matter TV award show is next Tuesday. So next Tuesday night from 7 to 9, the whole show is to announce the winners of this year's awards based on your votes. Some of you may have seen our promo video, which we posted on our social Facebook page, and it's very, very well done and kind of gets you in the mood to tune in and find out if the people you voted for won. We do it just like the Grammy Awards. We have someone opening the envelope after they read the names of the finalists. And then
we all get all dressed up.
Yeah, we get dialed up, and then each winner gets to give a 1 minute speech thanking the audience. So an acceptance speech, I guess we can call it that. So this will be our fifth one. Rhonda, can you believe we've
I'm
had
telling you, time
five
flies.
5 years and five award shows. It's gone by so fast.
Yeah.
So anyway, we have our next guest, and then after that, we will announce the book we're giving away. We'll do the trivia in between our second and third guest. So our next guest is she writes historical fiction, and as you all know, that's my favorite thing. Uh, and almost, if somebody says their book is historical fiction, it's almost a guarantee that I will buy it. Depending, just the way it's described. So, having said that, I did already get my copy of Lost Seeds, the beginning. And there's also a legacy part two, and she's going to do a part three. So, Teresa Sebastian is the author, and welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. Oh, we need to make sure.
Hello. No, I am on here. You listen, I have been on Zoom enough to know you got to get off mute, right?
Okay. Okay.
So here I am. Thank you so much for having me, Gwen.
Oh, well, you're welcome, and congratulations on your project. I haven't had a chance to sink my teeth into it yet because my TBR bookcase is not a shelf anymore. It's a case. But it's there for me. I intend to get to it. So, and you just reading your resume is amazing. You have 4 degrees, is that right?
I do. Fortunately or unfortunately, I do. I do. No, it's all worked out.
Yeah, you have a bachelor's, an MBA, you have a law degree, and then you have a master's of law, which
Yes.
I didn't know that once you got the law degree, that you needed a master's of law.
Well, you don't need it, but it's like, think about doctors that specialize in certain types of, medicine.
Okay.
Lawyers can do the same thing. You can be a tax lawyer, you can, be an intellectual property lawyer. I decided to specialize in securities and finance. So
Okay.
my day job used to be doing mergers and acquisitions and capital markets deals and things like that, and being a general counsel of large companies.
Wow.
Hmm.
That's one of those high-powered jobs where you have to work at least 80 hours a week.
Yeah, yes, yes.
Glad I listened because I could have sworn you said your day job was murders. I'm like, you were hit.
Oh, mergers. He's a hit man.
And she's telling everybody.
She's coming for you.
Wow. So did you do
Awesome. I love having, so you actually, do you actually get to be do you actually put doctor in front of your name?
No, I don't.
But you can.
And I could, but I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's just something I never um took that on, and because I just like relating to people. I like helping people. I don't try to engage too much in formalities. I just go in and, wanted to do my job. But I really don't practice law anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
I'll
what
tell you that the reason why I have the doctor in front of my name, I never required anybody to call me Dr. Rhonda or Dr. Lawson.
Hmm.
When people found out that I had a doctorate, they were just automatically calling me Dr. Rhonda. And then that just kind of became my nickname, so to speak. I'm Dr. Rhonda everywhere I go. Dr. Rhonda, Dr. Rhonda. So I was like, okay, well, if y'all are going to call me Dr. Rhonda, I'm just going to go ahead and keep it. And then when I tell people you don't have to do that, they say, no, you earned it. And I'm going to give you your flowers. So they insisted on it. And I was like, well, that's an honor that you thought enough of me to put the doctor in front of my name. So I just kept it.
Great, good, good. No, I think and in some professions or in some practices that you do, I think it's totally appropriate and people feel comfortable, as you said, putting that in front of your name. In the area where I was practicing it just was, it wasn't a part of the norm relationship between me and my clients.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, for me, because I'm around Rhonda so much, people start calling me doctor, and I'm like, I am not a doctor. I'm sick. Rhonda, that has happened many times.
Oh, that's
People
awesome.
assume I'm a doctor too, or they get us mixed up. They think I'm the doctor and that you're not the doctor. So I correct them quickly because I'm in a family. I have doctors in my family. I know how much work that is. And no, I don't. I was not. That was not my calling. I didn't want to go back to school anymore. So,
Well, I will tell you what, though, all of this education really helped me write these books, though, because as you probably know, as a lawyer, you do a lot of writing. A part of going to law school is writing, thinking things through, learning how to tell a story from A to B. Make sure you bring the listener along with you, especially if you're arguing to a jury or a judge. You're basically telling a story. So it was easy for me to transition from the practice of law as I was doing it to sitting down and writing a story and making sure, that it's proceeded and stuck together, and you could bring your reader along with you to understand what your characters were going through.
Yes, absolutely.
okay. So, how did you sit? When did you decide? Uh, After I've completed these mergers and acquisitions, I'm going to write this historical fiction novel series.
Well,
How did that come
I,
about?
when my kids were little, I always enjoyed telling them stories at bedtime or reading them stories. Both of my children love reading. My daughter's a journalist. My son is in the entertainment field and a businessman. So they both enjoyed that. And so, from time to time, I would have people tell me, you need to write a book. You need to write a book about, some of these things you're doing around the world. Well, I tried to write what people told me I should be writing about, didn't, and I would sit down and write. And so I have a number of manuscripts that were started, never completed. One day I was sitting, in the beautiful, air of Nashville on my porch, and a story just came to me. I wrote it, did the outline, verified that it was interesting, by calling my son and saying, "Hey, I have this idea." Ran it by him, and he said, "I think it's a great story." So it just flowed. And I say it that God delivered that story in my head because it was so easy to just go on. The characters came into me, visited me, were telling me what they wanted and what their lives were like. So it was very much internalized and delivered externally. So I just wrote it, and that's how the book came to be. The characters wrote the book and basically used me as a vehicle for getting their story out there. And as I said, even though sometimes the story felt disjointed as I was hearing it, um, and because of what I've learned as a profession and such, I was able to put all of their voices together and put it into a story for them. And, I'm bringing them to life. And there is a third book in process because they still need me to tie it up. And it may sound weird because I'm talking about these characters as separate from myself, and that's kind of the way I look at them. These are characters that have a life and want their stories told
Well,
because they're
that's
people
not
who
weird at all.
identify.
That's not weird at all. There
No.
are many authors who say that their characters told them which direction to go when they were writing, or their characters told them who they were. So sometimes when you get really deep into character development, your characters will kind of talk to you and they will tell you what they want to happen in the book. And that's usually the direction that you go in.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that when a reader senses that, they can tell that this character is natural, that this character is authentic versus something really forced. And I know sometimes, because I've talked to other authors, and there's some authors that churn out book after book after book, and they say, well, I have a formula. And and that's something that at least right now I can't identify with because I want my characters to be very organic and not stuck within a formula for producing a book.
Yeah, we do hear that from a lot of authors that the characters told them where the story was going.
Mhm.
And we're both authors as well. So uh, the same thing happened when I wrote my two novels. I have other books, just two novels, but I have 15 books altogether. Um, and Rhonda says the same thing about her when she wrote her books. How many books do you have now, Rhonda?
Um, I have 23, which includes my novels, and it includes my anthologies.
That is
Okay.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that one.
Yeah. I didn't remember what the number was, but I knew it was double digits at least. So now is this book, does it have any autobiographical elements to it in terms of, and I should say the series. I have the first book, it's Lost Seas the Beginning. But is it based on your family tree at all? Is your family tree woven into the story?
Elements of it, yes, they are very inspirational for some of the activities and characters. And that's one reason it's historical. It's very loosely based on an uncle that I had who I always found to be a mystery. He lived in the back of my grandmother's home out in a shed. And he was not really connected to the family. We were not really allowed to socialize with him. I was around 4 or 5 years old at the time, the time frame that I remember him. And what I realize now is that he had problems with alcohol. That's why, exhibited some of the behavior that I observed. And I also think that's why my grandmother did not really let us interact with him. She would take his meals out to him. Um, and so I always wondered what his story was. Why was he like that? And why I didn't see him interacting with us as other family members were permitted. And so I made up a story around that. And some elements of the story are, things that I observed or things that I heard my family talk about from time to time. But for the most part, it's fictional, but woven in there. And the setting for the story too, is loosely based on the town where my grandparents lived as well.
Okay, so it's a southern setting.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm. And then I'm going to ask you a little bit to talk about the plot of the book. But what you described is very southern in that a lot of times in the South, a family member will live adjacent to the main house, which is a small, not a big house. It's
No.
just the main the main dwelling. and then there'll be another smaller dwelling, or like for my family, which is rural North Carolina, my grandmother uh, lived in a home. Both my grandparents, and my uncle had a trailer
Mhm.
that was within a few yards of their house. His family lived in the trailer. My uncle, my aunt, and my two cousins. They lived in the trailer. And my grandmother had diabetes, and my uncle would give her insulin shots every day.
Mm, yeah.
So
And
and at the time I didn't even understand what was going on. It was when
right,
I was maybe 8 or 9 in there. But
right. So as a young child, you kind of try to rationalize or, you know, figure out what you're observing. And even if you think about it in Black families just all over in the US, we had relatives that, had either mental illnesses or alcoholism or other situations back at the time when I was little in the 50s and 60s. The families really didn't know how to deal with it. That person might have been marginalized or, cut out of, socializing with the larger family, or, just said, oh, they're crazy, kind of dismissive types of things. But we know today so much more about mental illnesses and alcoholism and other things that we just didn't know how to deal with back then. So in both of the books, you will see elements of dealing with mental illness, dealing with marriages that are dysfunctional or families that are dysfunctional, dealing with relatives that have multiple children while they're still married, kind of thing. So there are many things that I shouldn't say many, but there's several things that I observed and didn't understand when I was little. And so I wanted to reflect those through the eyes of a child and also to help people understand why some things were not effectively dealt with. It's just because back then we didn't have the knowledge.
yeah, or
And
access. We didn't have access to
oh,
mental health
that's right.
facilities at all.
That's
So
right.
our family members that had issues, they were just, or we took care of them, or they were around. We figured out how to deal with it. And then there were other situations where, uh, you know, when someone would have a child at a young age, that child was blended in to the family. I know my I knew it wasn't my uncle, but I didn't know what he was.
Mhm.
He was too young to be a cousin, I thought, but he was similar to my dad's age. And so, but it turned out my aunt had him when she was 14 or 15. And
Mhm.
so he was raised up together, but he was my cousin, actually my first cousin, but he was really the age of an uncle. You
Oh,
know
wow.
what I'm saying? And I didn't realize any of what had happened, the details, because they never talked about it.
Right,
They
right,
just
right,
were in the family. We're all family, and
right,
so that is something that is not as common today. The family aspect of the cohesiveness and figuring out how to make it work for the whole family, balancing it too. But everybody was involved, so it wasn't just one person having to deal with it, you know.
right. Exactly. So I am very proud of the characters and how they have told the story, through both of the books. And as you probably know, both of them have won book awards. And so that just shows that the story does resonate
And
with
that's good.
people.
That's good
Yes.
because these are your first books that you published, right? So,
Yeah.
okay, Lost Seas is a series. Tell us the overarching theme or
Right.
plot of the story.
Yes, so the story really is about two brothers, Dub and Tim Briscoe, and they were both born in the early 1900s, and they come from a large family of 14 kids, and it's how they navigate all of the historical transitions that take over. Dub wants very much to be successful, and so he is tenacious and very focused and competitive. Where Tim, being the youngest child, is the product, as you may understand, is not the product of their father, but the product of their mother being violated by the owner of the plantation where they were working. And so the mother, because of what she went through and the trauma, Tim was often the target of her issues, her anger, her disgust, because he looked much like the man that violated her.
Okay.
So as a result of that, Tim had a harder time and incurred, some mental and emotional issues growing up, but he was a very smart person. The unfortunate thing is that he struggled not just with the mental illness, but he also struggled with his identity because he looked very much like his father and could pass. And so, because of the story really reflects how the two brothers, although they are related and brothers, how they find success or strive for success in different ways and incur different challenges. As a result, fast forward decades, that animosity and estrangement lasts up into the 60s until there is finally kind of a crisis that brings their lives together. And so to understand what that is, you've got to read the book.
Okay, so this one, the first one, ends. It starts off at the beginning in the early 1900s and goes through
To
to
1929.
okay, okay,
Yes. And the second one takes us fast forward through the 60s, around
okay,
64, 65.
okay,
So by this time, Dub has grandchildren and his kids are married. So you get to see how his life has evolved. You also get to see how Tim's life has evolved as well. The third book, which is a work in process right now, kind of fills in the middle part and focuses very much on the relationship of the mother to her sons.
okay,
Mhm.
okay. And the final book is called because this one's Lost Seas, the beginning. The second one is the Legacy, and
Yeah.
the third one. You have a title yet? Is there a working title?
No, I do not, because that has not been revealed to me yet.
You probably won't come up. It probably won't be revealed to you until you're done with the story, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But
Well,
Yeah.
you
it's
know,
good to
one thing
sometimes
I
to not have a
like about this,
preconception.
one thing I like about a series is that the more you write the stories, the more you get to know the characters. So they're probably talking to you a lot more now.
They absolutely are. They talk to me when I'm on the treadmill, when I'm driving in the car, and sometimes I just have to stop and write the notes or dictate into my recording so that I remember, what I've heard.
Now, what does that look like or sound like to you? Because I know that when we say we hear from our characters, we may experience different things, or we may mean different things, and then there may be some people who are watching, like, what do you mean they're talking to you? So, what does that look like to you?
Um, it's It's oh God, this sounds wild. It's the voices in my, it's like they're talking to me. They're giving me, information on what is happening or what has happened to them at certain points in time. They're connecting sometimes, one element of the story that I understand to another element of the story and how it has impacted them. So I hear their voices in their head, and then they may introduce to me other characters that have played into how their lives are going. So it's just those voices and thoughts within my head. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think so. Because
Yeah.
like I said, we're both writers, so we've experienced it ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I
When
either
you
have to
really
write
get
it
into
down.
the meat of writing a story, I think Rhonda had internet connection issues. Sometimes that happens it's happened to me too, but not lately. But sometimes if the connection, she'll log back on in a minute.
Oh, okay.
Because she froze and
Oh,
then it was gone. So that let me know. So
well, I hope that and I encourage your viewers here to pick up the books, and if they like it, please, leave a review or shoot me a note and tell me what they thought about it. Um, it, like I said, it has won all kinds of accolades. If you go to the website, you will see that. There are 6 or 7 awards that Lost Seeds, the beginning, has won, and so far the second book has won 2 book awards. So I'm very proud of them, and I'm proud of the characters.
that's really great. Now, when you submitted your book for awards, how did you decide which awards you were going to pursue?
The I did a hybrid publishing, so the publisher that I worked with, a female-owned publishing company, Girl Friday, suggested those to me. She said these are the more reputable awards, the more respected awards
Okay.
in the independent publishing, um, you know, um, industry. So,
Okay.
not every award carries weight, but we focused on the ones that did and could lend credibility to the book. And
That's
you know,
always important. And
yeah,
competition, that means that your book is rising above or rose above the
yes,
competitors, the other people who submitted. And it's always it helps with readers, just like reviews.
yes.
So now your book is available wherever books are sold. Is that correct? Or
It's available very easily on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, bookshop.org.
okay.
And there's also it's on Kindle, and it's also Audible, so audiobooks. So we have some great readers reading both of the books. So however you want to consume, your stories, it's in that form for you.
Okay. And lastly, when did they come out? So when did the first one come out?
The first one came out in September 2023. The second
Okay.
one came out in September 2024. I decided to um, take a little bit of a break. So the next one probably will wait till 2026 because the other two, are doing so well. Um,
Okay.
yes, but
Okay.
we're very pleased.
Okay. Well, Teresa, thank you for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV. You all get your copies of Lost Seeds. There's the beginning, and then part 2 is a legacy. and it's available wherever books are sold. And I do plan to read it. It's going to be read soon, like maybe the third book down the list. So I my to be read shelf is, you wouldn't believe it, because of this show, which is a good thing.
Yes, yes. Well,
Because of
listen,
this
thank
show.
you for giving us this forum for sure.
Okay, and congratulations on all the accolades. And I meant to add, I'm gonna ask you one more quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
You were a child prodigy playing the piano at 4 years old.
Yes, ma'am. I
That's
was.
amazing. That's
Thank you.
amazing. I want people to know that. So that means you probably had a piano at home or somebody's house.
No, I did. And my mother's family particularly were all musicians. My grandfather played, and so we all just heard music from day one.
Oh, okay. All right. That's great. Okay. Well, have a great evening. And again,
Thank you,
congratulations.
Gwen, and thank
Okay.
you for having me.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. So did you have a power? Did you have to restart your computer?
Yeah, so for some reason I had a network outage. I mean, everything went out, the TV, the computers. I
I'm
was
just
like,
keeping my fingers crossed that it won't, because I heard a little bit of thunder.
I'm telling you, the weather is not playing today.
Yeah, yeah, we had a tornado warning, not tornado watch, but it didn't, nothing happened. Praise the Lord. So we have a variety of um, genres tonight.
Yes.
Our next guest is in the romance genre. So her name is Alexandria House. And I love your glasses.
Thank
All
you.
of your pictures you have, because I've looked at some, you have these really cute, amazing frames. Oh,
I try.
That's your
okay.
signature, isn't it?
Yes, I just like looking cute.
Hey, I'm not mad at that. I am not mad at that at all. Be cute.
Me, well, Alexandria House, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
But
And
thank you for being here.
Of course.
you've written, how many, you're a romance writer. Is that your lane? Basically all of your books romance.
Yeah, that's my lane. Yeah, that's what I enjoy writing too. So
Okay. And how many books are we so far to date? How many
child,
books have you do you write under any other names, or are they all under Alexandria House?
have in the past, but that's a secret.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay. Okay.
All
That's
right.
Yeah.
Well,
I wrote about
there you
30
go.
books under another name. I think we're at like 40 for Alexandria House. I think.
well,
Okay.
you're just a writing somebody.
Yeah.
Listen, this is my only job. I got to be a writer
Just about to
somebody.
ask, if you're a full-time writer, I mean, to have been able to write that many books, um, it's no easy feat whether you're full-time or part-time.
True, true, true. Well, I appreciate you.
Yeah. A lot of people say, I wish I could write full time, but I wonder if they really wish they could write full time.
They romanticize the idea of
Yeah.
writing full-time.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, especially as an independent author. It's time consuming. There's no 9 to 5. It's all day, how long, and it's not just the writing, but the administrative, the business side. I'm very, very fortunate that I have my oldest child as a business partner, so she handles the business side of things and talks
Sure.
to lawyers and all that stuff, and I just get to write and. I do other things I like to do. Like I have an online shop, so I kind of like packing the orders, kind of mindless for me. So I do that stuff, and I just get to create. So, but it's still a lot because it's just the two of us, being an entire publishing company. Outside of I pay somebody to edit, but outside of that, I design the covers, I do everything.
Oh, you design
So
your own cover. So, that's a different art.
yeah,
That's different from writing. That's like left brain, right brain.
yeah, it is.
So,
Um,
but now you said as a publishing company, are you publishing your own books or are you publishing other people as well?
My own books. we not ready to take on anybody else. I'm not ready to play with anybody else's money.
Yeah,
It's
I understand that. I have a done for you publishing service, and the reason why it's like that is
Mhm.
because I'll help you publish your book, but I don't want to be
Yeah,
responsible for your royalties. I don't want to be
absolutely.
responsible for anything. Just let me help you to get your book out there, and then you
Hmm.
can have it.
So it's
Yeah,
the
that's probably how I
DIY.
have to
Is that
do
what
it.
it is? It's the DIY.
Well, I no, not DIY, it's DFY, done for you.
But
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
but you handle your money, and I get it. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, you pay me one flat fee.
Hmm.
I will do the work for you to get to self-publish your book, so you don't have to do it because a lot of people want to self-publish and they don't really want to learn the business. All they want
Yeah,
to do is get their book out there.
yeah.
So if I can provide that service for you and get your book out there for you, I'm happy to do that. Like I said, I just don't want to be a full service publishing company. I'm like you.
Absolutely. I don't want to, and it's so much. I wouldn't mind. We've kicked around the idea of like a Alexandria House University where I teach some things, marketing, because it's so much more than just write a book, put it out there. You got to
Yeah.
Right.
market. You need to have
Although
an
some
author.
people do that.
Oh,
Yeah,
write
yeah,
no, write the book, and then post it on everybody's Facebook page,
yeah,
and
Without,
slide in their DMs with just your promo, and don't even say hi.
yeah, yeah,
or they drop a comment on a page that you are paying to boost.
yeah.
Yes,
They
yes.
put their book in the comments and they get deleted. That's what they get.
Possibly blocked too.
Oh yeah, two times. You get two times.
Yeah, yeah,
Then it's blocked because no, you have to, you know, don't do
yeah. It's
that.
work. You need to
It is
build your
work
author platform and
and
build up these.
money
Yes,
and
time
money.
and money and
Yes,
miss
time and
sleep.
money. So,
But I
um,
love it though. So
yeah. So you have book bays and what's the
yeah,
HEA? What's that?
book bays and HEAs, happily ever afters.
Oh,
It's
okay.
yeah,
Oh,
it's a giveaway we're doing through the Prolific Works platform. 45 Black romance authors, all new content. None of these stories have not been released before, and we're giving it away for a few months so that
nice.
we can try to. It's a way, kind of a way of cross promoting, and helping each other out and getting everybody's work seen. So you get a little taste of what we do, and hopefully you'll want to get a whole meal. So that's how we, yeah. So I really want to do that, because I guess I'd be considered one of the more popular authors. That's what they tell me. And so I wanted to um bring the light to some other, shine a light on some other authors. So I'm really happy about the outcome so far. It's been a really good reception. A lot of books have been downloaded. Tens of thousands have been downloaded. So I'm proud of that project. My offering is 5 dates. It's a novella,
Okay.
and it is about a young lady who's given up on dating. I know if the single ladies out there know the dating pool has all kind of, they pee in it and everything else.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
been
So
that's
saying
what my
that for the
daughter
longest. I'm so glad
said.
I'm in a relationship because I don't think I can handle being single and dating in this environment anymore.
it's rough out there. And so she's gone through that. She's had some disappointments. She meets this guy kind of serendipitously at this poet's spoken word artist show, and he asked her, "Give me 5 dates, and I prove I'm worth your time." So that's the premise of that book.
Oh, okay. I like that. This is a note of caution. I just heard some rumbling thunder, so I'm hoping that my connection will remain. If I go disappear, Rhonda's still on. So
You know what?
Yeah,
What a
we'll just
coincidence.
keep
Me
vibing.
too.
My network already decided
yeah,
to
she already.
take a little break,
Yeah.
so I'm back. I'm back, and I'm fresh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Hopefully,
Well,
we're storming here. So, are you,
okay.
where are
you're
y'all
in
at? Where you at?
Arkansas, right?
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
in
in Arkansas.
okay, I'm in Houston.
Okay, so it's storming here. So same thing, because the
Okay,
lights in I'm
okay.
kind of in the outskirts of Little Rock.
Okay.
So the lights like to just pop off if you think about raining here. So if it goes dark, you know what it's
Okay,
time.
well, we'll just talk a little bit and you can log back on, hopefully.
Okay.
Hopefully it'll be just a momentary or not at all. I'm keeping
Yeah, I'm hoping they'll behave.
not at all. Just wait until after the show, after 9 o'clock. Is it 8:10 where you are? You're on Central Time.
Yes. Hmm.
Okay, Rhonda's on Eastern Time. So she's an
Yeah, I'm
hour.
in the DC area.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, um, how does the book base and HEAs, how does that work? Like if somebody goes, do you have it on Amazon or you have it on an independent website?
It's on the Prolific Works platform. You go and you download it, but it gives
Okay.
you instructions to put it on your Kindle. So you can put them on your Kindle. They're ebooks, so you can put them on your Kindle, but it's not on Amazon. It's just
Okay.
on their platform. You can download all 45 of them if you want to. Some of them are on Goodreads for those that are keeping track of their reading. I did put mine on Goodreads. I'm not going over there to look at it though, because they y'all mean over there. But
I don't spend a lot of time on Goodreads, so
I haven't
it's
been
nice.
on
so
Goodreads
It's
hateful.
in a while.
me.
See,
It's me.
I'm brave. I'm gonna go on there and see what they're saying about my books because I've seen nice things about my books, but it's been a while. You never know when the mean people gonna pop up.
Oh
Well, I
yeah,
need
that
to. I
pop up.
haven't checked my stuff. When I go, I'm normally checking somebody else's. I haven't even
Yeah,
thought
I
about
used
checking.
to check mine, and part of being I guess you could say a pro is now I'm like, child, I don't that's between them. I don't need to know. I don't need to know that if it's not constructive, I don't need to know. And a lot of times it's not constructive. So, and I
Yeah, a
have
lot.
beta readers for
Sometimes,
that. So,
yeah, sometimes it can be,
mm,
but sometimes not. Or like if somebody says, "Well, why didn't you do X with this person?" The book is already written. Okay, so because I didn't want to, that's the
you
answer.
that's not how it came to me. I'm like,
Now,
you welcome to write that version if you want
you
to.
write that book. If you want, that's a book you need to write. If you want to see it out there, I have people say, you should write. Do you get that? Do you get somebody telling you what you should write?
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah,
Okay, I didn't know. I
they
thought
I
it was just me.
they place orders. I would like for you to write.
Yeah, and then I said, okay,
Yeah.
if you want to see that book, you write it. That's
Hmm.
not what I'm focused on.
Yeah.
That's
If
not
it's a
what I'm concerned
continuation of something, I will tell them if the characters get it to me, I'll definitely write it. But I can't just make it happen. It's not how it works. So
Yeah,
yeah.
well, no, these are random people that haven't read it in my books.
Oh
It's a
Lord.
book they really want to write, but they don't want to write it. They don't
Hmm.
want to do the work to write it. So they want to try to give it to you. And I don't know what they think would happen if they gave me an idea and I wrote the book. If they wouldn't have anything to do with it. You know what I mean? It would be mine.
Hmm.
So I don't know what they could
They
gain.
want some money.
Oh no. So anyway, um, I wanted to ask about you use this other site. A lot of people think everything has to be on Amazon. And so you obviously took a different approach
Hmm.
doing it this way.
Yeah.
And what made you make that decision? Is this the first time you've done that? Or why
Well,
don't you
no,
start?
I have a shop, alexhouseshop.com, and I do have things that are exclusive to that shop. I have audiobooks you can only get there. There's short audiobooks. I have short stories you can only get there. So I've been trying to kind of branch out, um, and not have to share out my money. So, um, I do that, and I think it's smart to diversify because you never know what's going to happen, especially right now. So, um, and I don't mind this company. This is something that they do. Um, they handle all the delivery. We don't have to deal with any of that. All we have to do is upload our book. They deliver. They handle all that. We don't have to do anything in the background. So I thought that was neat. And even with my store, I have Book Funnel that does the delivery. I just hook everything up, and they can use their customer service. They can use mine too, because there's some things I can do. Um, but I enjoy having that diversity of options for the readers, and I'm very very appreciative to the ones that are willing to step out their comfort zone with Amazon and Kindle and try other platforms. I do have books that are like on Kobo and iBooks and all that kind of stuff too. Not all of them. I have some that are KU, my McLean Brothers, which is like my most popular series. I don't know that if I'll ever take it off of KU because I call that my gateway drug. So so I want them to be able to get that and be like, oh, wait a minute, I'm willing to buy some now since I read that one. So it's all it's really all is a way of marketing. Even the free giveaway with Bookways and HEA, that's a marketing tool. Putting things on my store, things that are on my store and other platforms that are a little cheaper on my store. To kind of get you there and connect you with whatever other things I do, my merch and all that stuff. So I'm big on the entrepreneur side of it. I did not ever think is what it would be. I never guessed that I'd have a business and then it would actually work out and I'd be able to pay my child to work with me and things like that. So because I enjoy it and I enjoy freedom, I try to think of different ways to kind of shake it up and spice it up. So yeah, it's just I'm trying to think like a businesswoman.
Yeah,
Yeah, you have to constantly innovate when you're an entrepreneur. You
yeah,
have
and
to
that's what I
be
was gonna say.
constantly thinking of
It can
ideas.
be difficult because you have to find so many more creative ways to reach your target audience. It's not the same as it used to be in the early 2000s.
Hmm.
And I say the early 2000s, that's when I started writing.
Yeah.
Well, when I started being an published author and trying to do book signings, I started off in the early 2000s.
Hmm.
It's totally different now. We didn't have social media like what we have now.
Right. Right.
So that was different. People have more options now, between
Yes.
audiobooks and
Very
ebooks and
competitive
print
too.
books. And then not just that, you also have Wattpad now.
Hmm.
People there are a lot of young people who are reading on Wattpad. They're not going out and buying a book anymore. Then you have the what are those things that Amazon started, the little short books. I forgot what
Oh,
they
the
were.
Kindle Vella
Yeah,
thing.
the Kindlevellas. You have those now. So there's so many more options for people now.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
don't even know about the Kindle, but I don't read novellas. I
Mhm.
like a full
You're
story.
missing out.
Yeah,
People
you
say
want
that. I like
It's
no.
a
a full.
skill to it. You got to give me a try. It's a skill to it now.
Yeah, but I started doing the novellas because I wanted that everybody doesn't want to read a thick book. I
It
mean,
doesn't have to be thick. I just like a full story.
But there's a
well,
way to
that's
do
the
that.
thing. It can be a full story. See,
Yeah,
like this is a
absolutely.
really thick book.
Yeah.
This is
Okay.
this is a
So
book,
that's.
but then somebody who's really busy, who has a lot going on,
Hmm.
who still likes to read, is probably going to pass this book up because it looks too thick.
Yeah.
But then you come
Okay.
to a shorter book like this, they might
Yeah.
read this because this is a lot thinner, and they
And
feel like they can get through
that's why I say
it.
there's a skill to it. There's a way to make it feel complete. And I have been told
Yes,
that people read my novellas and say, I don't even like novellas. I didn't even realize that's what I was reading. So there's a skill to it. It's a skill to a short story to make it feel complete.
right.
Um,
You have to
yeah.
give it a beginning, a middle, and an end,
Mhm.
and you have to
And
still
some
put
backstory, but there's a way to do that
yes,
where you're not info dumping, where there's a conversation and say, well, it's been 5 years since we met, okay, now they've been on each other 5 years. So there's a way to do it. Um,
Without telling about what happened
yeah,
during the five
you
years.
have to do a lot of
Okay.
showing
Okay.
in a novella. You have to do a lot of showing, and you
Okay.
have to just what I like to do is usually if when I do a novella or short story, they already know each other. So there's not necessarily a meet cute. I'm not trying to do that. Now
Mhm.
with five
Okay.
days I did do a meet cute, but usually I don't. And you kind of they have a background and it may be that they've broken up and they're trying to get back together, so it's a way to work it to make it complete. I love writing short stories and novellas because it gives me a really quick payoff. So and I'm thinking, okay, ooh, I finished something, so I'll do that. And sometimes I do it in between novels just so I can feel accomplished because you have to stay with that novel so long. You're like, Lord, I ain't gonna never finish this. But so I
Alexandria, girl,
love to
you
do
my people. I like you. Keep talking.
I
Yeah,
like to
well,
do
you
that.
have some real world advice and just scenarios about
Yeah, there's
how
a skill
writing
to it.
is.
That's why I tell
It is.
everybody every
Yeah.
novella or short story is not going to be good because there really is a skill to it. You can't just throw together something, leave it. unless you're intentionally leaving it ambiguous at the end. Some people do that, and you decide what you think happens after that. But I try to give you a complete. You'll understand. You can feel the nuances of the relationship. I really try to do that. Now, did nobody teach me that?
Okay.
But I was a reader before I was ever a writer. So I kind of understand, I think what I would want to read, how I want to feel, and how
Right.
I would want the story to go. And so
Yeah.
yeah, that's definitely a skill too. I ain't gonna say go read everybody's. No.
Okay. Yeah,
But
I hate it when the story just ends
yeah,
like
yeah.
abruptly and there's no closure.
No, I
You're
can
just
understand
left
why you
hanging.
wouldn't like something like that. There should still be a
Yeah.
definite ending to the story.
I'm telling
Yeah.
you, I don't know how spicy you like it. But I got
Well,
a spicy series. It's the Mitchell Brothers. It's all novellas.
okay. The
I'm just
Mitchell
gonna toot my
brothers.
own horn, top tier. Top tier.
Oh, okay. Mitchell brothers. Okay.
They
Now you
top
have
tier.
is your newest book called Lilith? Is that the newest?
Yes. Lilith is it's the Three Kings series about the Three King sisters. And it's
Okay.
my first, not, well, kind of my
It's,
first foray into dark romance.
it's dark romance.
Where,
Somebody gets
everybody's not
killed?
good.
Oh, oh,
Some bad people.
oh, okay. Bad people. Okay.
Yeah, the premise of Lilith, and I can kind of give you this information because it's the beginning of the book.
Yeah,
But
just
Lilith has been
right.
in a relationship, and for years, like 12-year long relationship.
Oh,
But the guy hasn't married her because he's married but separated, and he doesn't want to divorce his wife because she needs to be on his insurance, basically. And so she's tired of that. She leaves and she has a boutique and an apartment above the boutique. So she moves into the apartment and she doesn't know what to do with herself because she has this great staff. So she doesn't have to work all the time. So she's just people watching, looking out the windows, people watching. And one night she's memorized like all of the little vagrants that go in the alley and pee and all of this stuff. And one night she's looking down and she's asleep, but she keeps the window cracked. She hears a fight in the alley. And she looks down there and one of her familiar vagrants is getting beat up and he's killed. And she's staring down there and the assailant looks up and they lock eyes.
Mm.
So he sees her seeing him. And she thinks that she dreamed it the next day. She's like, there's no way. I don't see any evidence of it in the alley. I had to be dreaming. Until the murderer shows up at her doorstep with dinner. And so that's where it starts up.
oh, great.
I'm gonna
Okay.
have to check you out, girl.
Yeah, me too.
And
I
I
don't.
can't
I'm not really a romance reader per se. Um,
Well,
I
see,
know.
I don't think I can properly read Alexandria's romance books
It
because
sounds like it has
like it's to
mystery
depart
too.
from that formula. I'm not crazy
Mhm.
about the formula.
try not to. Now you are gonna get a happily ever after because it's romance, but
Mhm.
Nothing wrong
I
with the
try to
happy ever
put
after, but
yeah,
I
and I try to
recognize,
make every story different.
yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. You should not get bored.
Okay.
I do. There is sex a lot, but that's because I like that, and I
Hey,
enjoy writing that. That's my
you
favorite
know,
thing
we
to write.
all have our things that we like to write about,
Yeah, I
and
love writing
that's
about
part of
that.
life. Now, I don't read erotica where it's like sex from page one to the end.
I don't do that.
I don't
You get
read
some
those.
story with the sex, but you get some
Yeah,
sex with the
give me some
story.
story.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't.
give me some
That's
story.
why. That's why I don't have patience for porn. I'm like, can I have a story? I mean, y'all don't. You don't just walk into the room and just go at it unless y'all know each
No.
other
Yeah.
already.
I
Or
so I
or
wish
the
you did
doorbell rings and it's the mailman and then y'all get to it.
that. Y'all getting
Right.
it on now. No.
Then
That's
he
actually a story. But I will tell you, when I'm writing, I'm like, dang, I wish y'all heard from me so y'all can do it. I really like to write those scenes. But and a lot of authors say they have a hard time writing sex scenes. I said, oh no, baby, I can do that with my eyes closed. I love that. That's my favorite part. So yeah,
yeah,
y'all should
I
check
have
me
a
out. If you want something a
really
little tamer, probably not
yeah.
Lilith, but
Okay.
I would say do Let Me Love You, which is the McLean book one. That's my crack book. Book one of the McLean
Your
brothers.
crack book.
Yeah, it's the one that I'm trying to rope you in. So you'll want to read
Oh,
everything
you
else.
mean okay,
It
okay.
ain't it ain't no, he's a
Gateway
rapper.
drug, the gateway drug.
I ain't writing about crack. He's a
Okay, what is
rapper.
it called? What is it called?
Let me love you.
Let me love you. Okay.
If you like audio,
No,
Yes.
well, that's Rhonda's thing. I don't listen to.
Oh, baby, I got some. Oh, I got the audiobooks for you. I got Jacoby DM has narrated. He's trying the audio for me, and then report back.
Oh, okay.
That's Rhonda's forte.
Yeah,
I
girl,
tried
look around to
to one
try it.
book once, and I couldn't keep my
I've been
eyes.
told I got some of the best audiobooks
I
now.
told you, Gwen, you don't know how to audio. You can't just sit there and listen to the audio book.
Yeah, you do
Now,
that when you're doing other stuff, you know.
Yes.
do
Now,
what?
if it's good
You
enough, I'll
can't be
stop and
sitting.
listen.
So, see, when I'm reading my books, it's normally at night during my when things are quiet, and it's like my wind down time, a couple of hours of wind down time. Well, when I tried doing the audio book during my wind down time, I just wound down and fell right asleep. That's what
Happens
happened.
to me too, but well, I have a visual impairment, so I do that so that I can save my eyes to write. So
Mhm.
I consume books and audio, but
Okay.
I loved audiobooks for years before I had one. And when Let Me Love You was my first audiobook. When the company approached me, I was like, huh? Because I didn't even think about putting it in audio, although I loved audiobooks. But because the company did it, I didn't get to listen to it until it was released. And I'm telling y'all, I listened to that book and started crying.
Mm.
Oh,
But that's a way for me to really experience it because if I'm reading it, I wrote it, then I read it over and over again. I just know what's happening. But for them to, because my narrators actually perform, they don't just read. So
okay.
they actually perform in the book and they experience it in that way. I thought, wow, I guess right, because this is good. So
Wow.
yeah, you should check. You should try. You should try one.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna Let Me Love You. I'm gonna try reading first.
Okay, I
Okay,
think
and
you'll
we'll
like
see.
it.
We'll see. Now you have the house party. Is that an event you
Yes.
have coming up?
Yes, we do this every 2 years. It's kind of my little gift to my readers who I love so much. They do have to pay to come, but I had to pay way more. So we're doing it in Charlotte. We always base it on one of my series. The first one was the McLean Brothers. We did in Houston because where they're from. The
Mhm.
second one we did my Romeo, which is my fictional HBCU. We did a Romeo homecoming in Atlanta, and this year we're doing it in Charlotte, and it's based on my NBA team, the St. Louis Cyclones, and on that series. So it's an all-star weekend thing. There's the VIP mixer on Friday night. Then Saturday is the literary experience. We have around me and about 14 or 15 other authors where you can buy books. It's an open bar. We feed you. VIPs get a limited edition jersey with whatever player they want on the back, and they get their own lounge and their own separate little experience. And we have DJ. The after party is ladies only, no cameras, no phones out
Okay.
because it's for the grown folks. We're having a pajama dungeon party.
Okay, King.
So it's grown and sexy. There may or may not be need to have $1 bills to pay men who don't have clothes on. And we have drinks then. We keep you with drinks and food in every event. And then on Sunday morning is our WAGs, the wives and girlfriends NBA brunch. We have a live band and a DJ. Great chef that we got coming in to cook for us. Um, and you get a swag bag at each event. And it's just a good time. It's a time to party. We don't have what I call it doesn't feel like it's an experience. It doesn't feel like other literary events, but I did that on purpose. I just wanted Black women to come and have fun and have sisterhood and meet people, like-minded book lovers, and just have a good time. Just hang out. So that's what we'll be doing. Dress code for the literary experience is your jerseys or jersey dresses. I got my outfit already ready. So I'm excited. I will be for anybody that's I know we're out of the weekend bundles, the Saturday bundles. I think all we have is like a la carte tickets. So if you want to go to the literary experience, maybe two brunch tickets left. So we sold out a VIP like in a week back in September.
Wow.
Um
Back in September.
so
Awesome.
it's
That's
it's
great. So
we
it's
we
every
always have a
two every
time.
2 years. So how big, how many people do you normally have?
I think this year we're gonna have over 200 people. We're kind of slowly scaling it up. Because I'm extra. My
Well,
planner's
that's a good
extra,
number.
and
That's a
ain't
good
nothing cheap. So
yeah.
that's why we slow. It takes us that long to plan it, and I want to do it every 2 years so I don't go bankrupt. So,
I hear you.
so
I believe you me.
yeah.
I know
But
how that
it's really
is.
nice. It's really unique. If I hope that y'all will be able to see like the pictures and videos when we post. And we have some like from the other years. It's I'm proud of it. I'm very proud. We were featured on the Ebony website last year. Um,
Oh, okay.
so yeah.
So, in this year it's in St. Louis, is that where it
It's in
is?
Charlotte. We did it in Charlotte.
Charlotte. What
I
does it
didn't
say?
do it in St. Louis because
Oh,
I
the
did
St.
it.
Louis Cyclones.
It
Okay,
is the
that's
St. Louis Cyclone,
okay.
but we're doing it in Charlotte, because that's another basketball town. And because I did a dinner series a couple of years ago where I had like intimate 30 people attending dinners in different cities, and we did that in St. Louis, Dallas, and New Orleans. And we just have a little dinner. Everybody got a little book that I wrote exclusive for those cities. And so I like dinner parties and stuff. So that's why I like to do that stuff.
Well, there are all kinds of book events, that people do. Some are smaller, some are more intimate,
Hmm.
and some are larger.
Yeah.
But there's lots of options for people,
There is, yeah, and
and then
I
they're
love
in different
attending them.
cities. So
Yep, yeah,
so from coast to coast. So people get
absolutely.
get the option to go either sometimes stay in town and go to something, or
Yes,
travel and go to something.
yeah. I think it's a beautiful time to be a reader. There's so many
Absolutely is. There are
experiences
a
you
lot of
can
great
have.
books out there. There
There are.
and different types of books. Everybody doesn't read the same thing. We're not a monolith, and we're
Yeah.
seeing some great books out there.
Yes, yes. I like to call this the modern Harlem Renaissance, because there's so much wonderful Black creativity out now from movies. I'm trying not to talk about sinners because I'm obsessed, but movies and music and the books. Re Young me would have a fit right now with all of these authors out putting books, Black authors putting books out. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's really like a renaissance because of self-publishing and the way that people have taken that and really turned it into some professional quality work.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mhm.
So, what is what's the next thing for you? We like to see what people are working on coming up.
Well,
You got
I'm
Lilith, so you're going to continue to work on that series.
Yes, Memphis is out. That's book two. That's the oldest sister. And then the
Okay.
third sister will be out later this year, I hope. I have not started her. Her name's Umber. I have her story in my head. I just haven't started because I have some other obligations I need to take care of. I need to write something for the house party to put in the swag bags. But I mean, I'm a pretty quick writer. I get it done. And right now, I'm working on the fourth book in my Romeo series, which is an Audible original series. So those books are produced by Audible, and it comes out in audio first exclusively, and then I can sell it in other formats. So I'm working on the fourth book in that series right now, and I'm bumping up against the deadline, but I'm gonna get it done and get it to them, and then I can work on some other stuff.
Now, do you set your own deadline since you're
I
self-published or
do.
independent or hybrid?
I do for some for this Audible original. I mean, I guess it was collaborative. They asked me when I could be done with it because Audible does, this is their story that I'm writing for them. They asked me when I can, to give them a time, and I will, but it is a deadline. It's like a firm deadline. Unlike when I do it, I give myself a deadline, but I give myself a lot of grace
Yeah.
if I can't get it done because I am the boss. I mean,
Yeah.
You can do
You
that.
talk to yourself,
You can
that book
definitely
needs to
do that.
be in tomorrow. Okay, well,
yeah.
I'm not ready. Then you
But I
can
am, but when if I announce it, I'm serious about not
yes,
disappointing my readers. So
yeah.
usually I don't announce it until I'm done
Mhm.
because I
Yeah.
don't want to
When you
disappoint.
put it out there like that, a lot of times when I want to achieve a goal, I'll tell people
Hmm.
because then that puts the pressure on me to do it
Yeah,
Right.
and
I
to
agree
get it
with that.
done, you know.
yeah. So if I announce it, but you best believe I done finished it. So,
Yeah.
so you gonna get it. And then start rolling out promo. It's done. But I have covered, I'll do a cover to kind of say, okay, I got the cover. I'm gonna write this, to kind of encourage myself. But yeah.
Okay, well, Alexandra, thank you so much for being a guest on the show
Well,
and
thank you
just
for having me.
yeah, just filling
It
us
was a
in on
fun
all the stuff
interview.
you're
We
doing.
appreciate
Yeah, you're doing a whole bunch of stuff. We appreciate you being out there in the world.
Well, yeah, thank you. And anybody want to learn more about me, go to msalexhouse.com and you can find out everything. You get a reading list and everything that you can download. So
Well, we put the website in the chat, so I hope some people will be clicking on that link.
please do so I can keep the lights on.
Okay. Okay.
Thank
Okay, have a
y'all.
great night.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye. Well, we didn't really have time to do our book giveaway, so we'll do it next. Well, can't do it next week because next week is the Black Authors Matter TV award show, so we'll have to save it to the following week. But anyway, our final guest is on, and I don't know if let's see. Well, our final guest is on, and many of you all probably know her because she's written several books, and she has a new book out called Happy Land, and
Yeah.
her name is Dolen Perkins-Valdez. And welcome, and she's been on the show before. I think it's been a couple of years. You were on with Take My Hand. But welcome back to Black Authors Matter TV.
Yes. Hi.
How are you?
How are you?
Good to
Doing
see you again.
doing great.
Good
Good to
to
see
see
you
y'all.
again. Yeah, we read well, I read Take My Hand, and did it win an NACP Image Award, or was it nominated?
It won. Can you
That's what
believe
I
it?
thought. That's what I thought. So I knew it was nominated, but I couldn't remember if it won. But it should have won because it was really an exceptional book. It was really an exceptional book about a
Thank
different
you.
kind of topic. Now, Happy Land, do you have a copy of Happy Land with you that you can show the cover of?
Oh, let's see. I usually do keep one right here. Oh, I do. It's right here on the floor.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So Happy Land, and it just came
Wanted
out.
me to read?
No, just show the cover.
Oh, show the cover. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, it must be some kind of delay because it seems like when I say something, you don't hear it like when I say it. I'm not sure what the reason for that is, but we'll work with it because when it's live, anything can happen.
Okay.
So, this book came out about a month ago, and it's doing
Yes,
well.
it's been out since April 8th.
Yes, it's doing well.
Yeah, I've been oh, sorry. I toured like 8 cities and my tour is over. And now I just have a few things here and there to do, but I've been really happy with the reception that it's gotten so far.
Okay, now it is about true events or true circumstance.
Yes, it's inspired by the true story of a kingdom in Western North Carolina,
Yes.
where these freed people came up from South Carolina, Spartanburg County, South Carolina, and established a kingdom, or they established a community, and they called it a kingdom, and they called themselves royalty, and they named the place the Kingdom of the Happy Land.
And then they also had a king and a queen.
That's right. The minister, they were from a church down in Cross Anchor, South Carolina. And the minister of that church was a man named Martin Bobo. His daughter, Luella Bobo, came up there with them. And William and Robert Montgomery were brothers from the Montgomery originally from the Montgomery plantation in Spartanburg County, and they knew the road. They knew that turnpike. They had been up and down it before. And so they said, we know a place where we can go and we can be safe. And so they came up that mountain. They walked, and when they got up there, they declared themselves royalty. And William Montgomery married the daughter of Martin Bobo, Luella Bobo. And that is how the first king and queen were named.
Now, this book, and I'm sure you're aware of The American Queen that came out last year, that was a similar, well, based on the same story.
Story.
Mm-hmm. And but the difference is her book, the setting is back then. The whole book, the entire book, the setting is back during that time. Whereas your book is more contemporary, and then they look back. And correct me if I'm wrong about that. Or let me know if I'm right.
Well, in my book, I have two storylines. One is the historical storyline, and that's the story of Luella and the kingdom itself. And then my contemporary storyline is her descendant, Nikki, who's her great, great, great granddaughter. And the reason I used a contemporary storyline is because I wanted to ask a question about the kingdom. Specifically, I wanted to know, why does it matter that we learn about the kingdom? Why does it matter to us as descendants of these stories, as inheritors of these stories? And maybe a broader question is, why does Black history matter? Why does it matter to us? And Nikki is my exploration of that question. Because when the book opens, Nikki is at a crossroads in her life. She's about to turn 40. She's divorced. She's been divorced several years and hasn't quite moved on from that. Her daughter is graduated from high school and living at home, and and not really motivated to do much. And so when her grandmother calls her down to North Carolina urgently, she says, I think Nikki needs her grandmother as much as her grandmother needs her. She needs to know who she is. And part of what I'm trying to say with the book and with that contemporary storyline is knowing this history teaches us who we are.
Well, and that is so very true. Now, is there, this story is from like right after Reconstruction, but now there are two books about that. Do you know if there's any reason why this story came to light like now as opposed to 10 years ago or 30 years ago?
I think that question for Take My Hand, like if you were to ask me about the history of the Ralph sisters that inspired my previous book, I would say that story was willfully and intentionally swept under the rug, right? There's no reason that the story of that lawsuit in that case, which continues to have ramifications in the realm of informed consent, there's no reason that story isn't taught in medical schools and in high schools and in college curricula. That to me tells me that that was a story that was intentionally ignored for many years because it was considered a stain on the part of the medical community in the United States. This story is a little bit different. I don't think this story was like willfully or intentionally ignored. This is just a very small pocket of history. There were other intentional communities that were much larger, like Co-Ridge in Kentucky or Promised Land in Tennessee, and they lasted for longer too, right? There were other intentional communities. And so, for whatever reason, this story just didn't, people just didn't know about it. But I thought it was a remarkable story. And it, to me, like the fact that there was royalty made it different than those other communities. And that really intrigued me. But one of the things that I was really struck by was that for over 60 years, nobody had done the research. We had been relying on a pamphlet that was published in 1957 by a court stenographer Sadie Smathers Patton. And that pamphlet was continuously quoted over and over and over again in newspaper article after newspaper article. And I was very curious about that pamphlet. I wondered how much of it was true and how much of it was false. And so I didn't use the pamphlet. I decided to go into the archives along with Ronnie Pepper, who's a librarian at Henderson County Library, and Suzanne Hale, who is another resident of Hendersonville. The three of us worked really hard to try to find out everything that we could about the kingdom.
Wow.
I'm actually glad there's more than one story about
Me too.
because
Me too.
prior to these two books, I had no idea about this story. And I'm a person who prides myself on learning African American history. I mean, I have an entire Black History Month literary weekend, and I'm always looking for new Black history facts. So it was interesting to me and exciting to me to learn about this community and to find out that this wasn't just a made up story. This actually happened. So I appreciate that. And then something you said a little earlier in the interview, when you mentioned why is it important for us to know this now? When we know these things, we can sometimes it makes us stand up a little straighter, hold our heads a little bit higher, because everything doesn't have to be a struggle story. And I've said this a number of times on this show, where sometimes we feel like our Blackness is wrapped around how hard the struggle was, and we don't know that, hey, we started our own communities. We claimed the royalty title. And we kept going. There we probably could have kept going if there weren't some mistakes that were made. And of course there were mistakes that were made, but we were able to keep going and we were able to do these things. But we don't know this if we don't tell the story. And we're always going to think that our history started with slavery, and it happened. Our history dates way before slavery, but we don't know this if we don't tell these stories. Or we think that slavery was only one moment in history, and we don't realize that everybody wasn't a slave, so to speak, or everybody didn't struggle, or everybody wasn't killed, or everybody didn't have a fight with a white person or whatever. Sometimes there are other parts of our history that we can celebrate, is what I'm saying. So that's why I'm happy about these types of stories, because these are things that we don't always know, and we probably would have never known had you two not written the stories that you've written.
Right. And I think too, there's not, there's more now. There's more in a lot of the books that are coming out now from the Reconstruction period until like the Civil Rights. That 100-year period, there isn't as much knowledge about it. But a lot of the books that are coming out now are giving us more information on those years, because it's almost like, okay, slavery ended and then Reconstruction, and then there was civil rights. It's like, what
Right.
happened?
We
What
forgot
happened?
to fill in the gaps.
Right. What happened
I will
for the
say
100
this,
years?
Glenn. We're coming up on the 250th anniversary of the United States. This is a great time to make sure that our stories are included in that conversation, because if we don't, it's going to be a very whitewashed 250-year anniversary. We don't want that to happen. We need our stories to be a part of that. So stories like the Kingdom of the Happy Land, they need to be a part of that conversation.
And I agree. And maybe with it coming up, you've given me some food for thought about the show for that whole year. We can do something. We'll have to talk about that. So, Dolen, what, now, do you have a background in that part of the country at all? Like, is your background in North Carolina, or do you have roots in North Carolina?
No, my people are from Tennessee.
Okay, but they are
Tennessee and Mississippi.
Okay, they are adjacent because my daughter went to my family's from North Carolina, not the western part, but we've spent a lot of time going through Tennessee on road trips to North Carolina, many, many miles, many, many years. It's a beautiful state, Tennessee is. But what do you think about this different stories about the all black towns, some of the all black towns that were created after slavery? There's not like, there's not as much on that. And this is like one of those stories.
Yeah, there's a and I can't think offhand, but there are a couple of novels about black towns. I think Jacinda Townsend has one. Um and I think there have been multiple, we know about Zora Neale Hurston's Town of Eatonville. There have been various novels over time about some of these towns, but not as many about the intentional communities that weren't necessarily considered, municipalities with, a mayor, et cetera. But I do think this is an interesting moment to be thinking about Black Utopia. There's a scholarly book that came out last year called Black Utopians by Aaron Robertson that I recently read, and it's about a community. Well, it's about several communities, but primarily the one in Tennessee that I mentioned, Promised Land. And so I really am intrigued, particularly in this moment in which, so for example, I just read that some of the Black graduations at PWI, at predominantly white institutions, are being canceled due to pressure from this current administration. And um, I think this is an interesting moment. And so, like, Black students are scrambling to find venues off campus where they can host a graduation. So I think this is an interesting moment to talk about what it means to create intentional spaces that are spaces of refuge and spaces of safety. Um, and so that, in my mind, this is why the story of the Kingdom Land is really relevant. And maybe that's why there are two books, because this is just a moment for us to consider what those spaces mean, why they're important. I'm particularly enamored by the fact that the kingdom was, by all accounts, a successful settlement. Um, they contributed to a communal treasury. They put their money together. They built it together. And there's nothing that I found that it ever like imploded or people got mad. And people just eventually drifted off to find work elsewhere, as they do. But I'm really intrigued by just what does it mean to create an intentional space, even now in 2025? What does that mean, and what does that look like?
Now, your character that you center around, your contemporary character that the story is central to, how did you determine who she would be and her relationship to the Happy Land?
You're talking about Nikki, the
Yes,
contemporary character?
yes.
So I knew that I wanted to create a story about a descendant. And like I said, I was really interested in this question of what does it matter, you know, that this place existed. And I thought about her being from DC. I live in DC, and so many DC folk have North Carolina roots. Almost everybody I meet most of the time, they're people either from Virginia or North Carolina. And I thought, okay, well, she's lived in DC. But like, for example, Laurel, her mother is like me. She's someone who grew up in the South, born and raised, families from there, and then who left. But Nikki is like my children. She was born my kids were born in DC, but they clearly have a mother with Memphis roots because that's where all my family is. That's where we go even now to go visit their grandma. So there's a way in which my kids feel a connection to the South, but they don't have the same memories that I do. And so they're seeking what the South means to them. And I think for Nikki, when she goes there, she has to kind of figure out what North Carolina means for her. And I love that Mother Rita checks her at every point, like, don't stereotype us, and of course I read, and some of these things, even though Mother Rita, she has visited DC and, Nikki's interacted with her before, there were certain things that she couldn't know about Mother Rita until she was there. Like she didn't know about her flower garden and how wonderful it was. She didn't know that Mother Rita was a vegetarian. She didn't know that Mother Rita read so many books. She didn't know that Mother Rita knew everybody in the town and especially in the library. And she can only learn that by being there. And so, I really wanted to explore that for her and how eventually she will expand as a woman by being around her grandmother.
Okay. Well, one of our regular viewers said he just finished reading Take My Hand, and he loved every bit of it. It was an excellent read, and he said, I will be reading more of your work for sure.
Well, I love that because, most of my readers are women readers. So every
Yeah.
time I have a male reader, I'm always really grateful and welcoming them into the fold because that's a beautiful thing. And my books are meant for everybody. So yeah, thank you.
Well, his name is Curtis, and he's watches almost every week live. He's an avid viewer. Right. He's an avid
He's a
viewer.
regular.
He's a regular, and he watches it live. So, because we have a large audience that watches it after, like within the week after. So, but he's always on the show live and wins lots of books when we do our book giveaways. We do them based on trivia about the book. So he's won a whole bunch of books, and he will comment if it's something he read or heard about. And he reads a lot because he talks about books that he reads. So that's really good. So are you working on another project, Dolen? Or
I am, but I'm in I'm in that really early stage because, I'm still promoting this book. It's hard for me to get started on something else until this kind of dies down a little bit.
Right.
So I'm hopeful this summer I can get back to my desk and try to figure out my next project.
Okay. Well, I think I'm really ecstatic and excited about a second book about the Happy Land. And because that means more people will know about it. The more information is out there, the more people will know about it. And so can you show your book cover one more time?
Okay. There it is.
Happy Land. And it's historical fiction based on a real place.
And it's a beautiful cover, by the way.
It is a beautiful cover. I love it.
Thank you. I love this cover. I loved it.
Okay, well, we'll see you next time. We'll be on the lookout for your
Thank you
next
for
book.
having me on.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Here. You have a great night.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, well, that's the end of our show. And for those who may have tuned in late, next Tuesday is the Black Authors Matter TV Awards show. And if you've never seen one, you have to tune in. It's an amazing night. All of the people that you voted for, the finalists, will receive the winners will be announced next week in 15 categories. And we have entertainment. We always have entertainment in the middle of the show. It's just like any other award show. We're very excited. So until then, we'll see you all next Tuesday for our award show. I'm Gwen Richardson signing off.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
Thank you for tuning in, and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.